611 Sue Shanley, Chair, Mississauga Residents Association Network, regarding the Region of Peel Police budget and increase to Peel Regional Police budget. Sue, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Regional Council. Again, I'm Sue Shanley with MIRANET, which is the Mississauga Residents Association Network. We are here to express our concern and the need for changes to the Peel Police Service Board. We also have great concerns about the 23.3 increase for the 2025 Peel Police budget. Why can the City of Toronto have a budget increase of 3.9% and the region of Peel have a 23.3 increase? Is crime 6 times higher in Peel than in the City of Toronto? What is the justification for this huge increase, which Mississauga residents will have to bear the unfair burden of 62%? I am getting these questions over and over and over again from all of the different residents associations in MIRANET and coming from their residents. I have not had so many concerns, I would say, in the past 10 years that I've been with MIRANET. We've been increasingly concerned with the cost and the increases to our taxes every single year. And in fact, the population of Mississauga is going down. We feel that people are leaving Mississauga. Seniors can't afford to stay in their homes, and young people are having a hard time. They leave, and young people that would like to come in here, they can't afford to move in. And as it's been said earlier, 1 in 13 people in Mississauga are using a food bank. It's very concerning and very disturbing. The financial impact of this will increase the Region of Peel's budget to 12.5%. This in turn will increase the City of Mississauga's average residential tax bill from 3.3% to 9.3%, subject to final approval at the Peel budget today. How can Mississauga homeowners stay in their homes in the face of such property tax increases? We are again concerned that residents like our seniors cannot afford these increases and will move away. In turn, again, it's going to be preventing younger people, single residents who can't afford the rent, can't afford to buy, to move into our city. The Peel Police Service Board needs to be accountable and transparent. I cannot stress that enough. Currently, we don't feel that it's transparent or publicly accountable for its decisions. MIRANET understands with the increase in crime how important it is to have a well-run police force. While we have always supported an effective and efficient regional police force, it is difficult to understand the necessity of hiring and deploying 300 additional officers and up to 65 additional civilian staff in 2025. It seems that the problem is just bigger than the Peel Regional Police. It's a provincial issue. How many times, and we've heard this over and over today, it's not just that we need more police, the whole system needs to be overhauled. People get caught, they get put in prison, and then they get released. If this was overhauled, we would not need the number of police increase that they're asking for today. So this is like a Band-Aid fix, and it's not okay. The public is entitled to understand the empirical justification for this decision. Where are the statistics for this justification? For example, how many officers per 1,000 of our population exist in Peel compared to other surrounding municipalities in the GTHA? Now that we know Toronto has a 3.9% increase, how does Peel's 23.3% increase compare to the Toronto numbers? We'd like to see that data. If the ratio is less in Peel, this would add credibility to the decision to add more officers, but not at the expense of a 23.3% increase in 1 year. Why can't we split these numbers over the next 2 or even the next 3 years? MIRANET notes that Mississauga is required to fund 62% of the police budget, while Brampton funds 38%. Shouldn't this be based on the population of both Brampton and Mississauga, which is approximately equal currently? And in fact, actually, Brampton has overtaken our population. The government provincially must work to correct this imbalance. MIRANET requests that the PPSB be reconstituted, both with changes. We recommend that both Mississauga and Brampton have equal political representation on the board. Instead of the provincial government appointing representatives, we request that each city have 2 elected representatives appointed by their respective councils. They need to provide a budget and be audited. Moving forward, the PPSB and the whole process must be open and transparent to the public. Thank you for considering MIRANET's concerns about the Peel Police Board and the Region Appeals budget. Thank you.
Sue, thank you. Questions? Councillor Hornick.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Sue, for coming today. Really appreciate it. Kind of help you out on a couple things you asked questions rhetorically. From page 25-9 of the budget presentation, performance measurements on crime. PRP crime rate per 100,000 crimes per person in Peel is 758 crimes per person. Canada, it's 1,428, so double. In Ontario, it's 1,055. I guess I help you out with those numbers because I also don't like when people, look, we have serious crimes that happen in our community, but I also don't like scaremongering. We still do have a safe community in a lot of cases compared to other places. We have horrible things that happen. We absolutely do, and we do need more officers. But I don't like scaremongering either. That's not helpful. To your point about the cost split, one of the things I'd like to do, but unfortunately it doesn't work legislatively, would be to propose that I know many Brampton councillors are very excited to add more police, and it would be great if they could contribute more on that financially. Unfortunately, I can't introduce something to address that, but I would love to have done that. Unfortunately, the legislation is very complex. It requires a lot of passing at different city levels and regional levels, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe our communities are, everyone's acting with the best of intentions, and we're feeling pressures in different ways. And so I don't deny people's good intentions, and maybe we're seeing things through a different prism. But I think, the financials are something that is unsustainable. The gap is over $90 million between if you did it by population versus if you're doing it the way we're doing it today. That's a vast amount of money.
Absolutely.
It's a vast amount of money.
Absolutely.
And I certainly would never expect that to be addressed in a single year. It's something that would have to be worked out, much like the way Councillor Kovac pointed out in many years as we've gotten to this point. We need to address that. So, it's a separate discussion for a separate day, but I think it is something that's on the radar that needs to be done. And it's going to be a difficult discussion between our communities. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kovac.
Thank you very much through the chair. Thank you, Sue, for your deputation today. I appreciate that you said that Mississauga residents and you're representing MIRANET do expect openness and transparency from the region, from Peel Police Services. They expect that. They want that. Did I understand this correctly? Over the last batch of years, would have been an expectation from Mississauga residents, who you represent, MIRANET does, that the councils and working with Peel Police would have best managed things while projecting out so that we're not seen to be scrambling at any one time, like an increase of 23.3 as a request could potentially suggest a type of a scrambling. You made the comparison to the City of Toronto, a much lower amount. Does this, for you, suggest that there has been less forward thinking from the region in comparison to other municipalities? Take Toronto as an example, which I think you did mention.
I think that is true. I mean, you have to think about the citizen and what they're paying in taxes. And as you know very well, those increases have been going up year over year over year. And as a taxpayer myself, I'm very concerned about the bottom line. And we know that we need police, and we know that there's been an increase in crime. But at the same time, if the province is not doing their share to keep the bad people in the jail, it makes it very hard for the police. We understand they're just repeatedly catching and catching again. But yes, we do think you have to have forward thinking. You cannot hit a community with a 23.3 increase in 1 year. It's just not sustainable. It's not affordable for us as residents.
Thank you for that. And once again, I'm getting this sense that if we as a council, in working with Peel Police, and we've been approving their budgets every single year, we've been doing that. Mayor Parrish mentioned that earlier. So if we had done the proper projections, we would not be coming forward with this 23.3%. You know, we could have absorbed all of that over the last several years through proper projecting and through forward thinking.
And we completely agree with that. We just wonder how in the heck we ever got to this point at 23.3.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Parrish.
Well, thank you very much, Susan. The numbers that you refer to, 6238, and I know particularly Councillor Keenan is and Councillor Paleski are very keen on rearranging Peel Board or Peel Council so that we can have more Peel, more Brampton councillors and I guess a similar number of Mississauga councillors. But I'd really like to see the change in how we allocate the budgets from the police, because right now we overpay $93,709,000 so that you are comfortable in Brampton and you actually have an IPV center, which we don't have. So even if you lowered it though, Sue, to 14%, which is what I'd like to do for this year and 14 for next year, we still overpay $86,731,000 our taxpayers are paying Brampton for the service they're getting. So the other thing that, Sue, I don't know if you're aware of it, but the crimes that I get calls about most of the time are crimes against property, motor vehicle theft, and B&Es. That's what people are screaming about. And the solvency rates for 2023, crimes versus property, 17.1% solved. Theft of motor vehicles, 2.9% solved. B&Es, 13.3% solved. So we added a whole bunch of police officers last year, so it changed a little. We went up to 18.6 solved crimes against property, 3.3% car thefts, and 16.9% on B&Es. So adding cops isn't going to fix that overnight. So I guess I should be asking a question. I'm not, but we've been getting away with it all morning, so I thought I'd throw that in.
Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Chair Unica. Thank you for the presentation. You made a few comments in your presentation, and once again, it's always helpful to know how we operate here. So you said the meeting should be transparent. Did you know that, and the Mississauga should have a representative there? Do you know that all our police board meetings are public here? You can come and watch. When the budget's presented, you can come and watch. Did you know that you have that right as a resident to come and watch any of our proceedings?
Yes.
Okay, so when you said transparency of our meetings, not the police board meetings, what did you refer to?
The budget. I'm referring more to the budget. We'd like to see, like, line by line, all of that information should be open and apparent to the public.
Did you know that that's public as well?
And I don't believe it is completely transparent. And that's our belief, and that's a lot of residents' belief, that it's not as transparent as it should be.
But I guess it's great to know that you can come watch it next year.
And I have in the past.
And wonderful. And then Mississauga, of course, you know, that their council gets to pick someone. We look forward to a new person being selected, whoever Mississauga believes is appropriate to fill Mayor Parrish's seat, and they'll be able to scrutinize every decision. Did you know that this year is a double cohort and that all three mayors and the entire regional council asked this year to have that additional policing because we were so far behind Toronto?
Yes, I did know that.
And the numbers you said should be made public. They were made public in the police presentation. We're 600 officers behind Toronto per capita. And so this is a bit of a catch-up. But the police board's wisdom was that we couldn't do it in 1 year. As you suggested, we should spread it out over a 4-year period, which we started last year, to be able to handle the pain of catching up. And so what you've asked for is actually what is happening in terms of spreading it out. Did you know this was being spread out over a number of years?
Yes, but at 14%, not at 23%.
So did you know that at 14%, that means 15 new officers, not 300, and we would fall further behind?
All I know, Mayor Brown, is the fact that our taxes are going up. We understand the concerns of the police, and we are concerned about policing in our communities. But when it comes down to the bottom line, we have to be able to live and be able to afford to stay in our homes. And by you increasing our budget by 23.3% makes that untenable to some residents.
Okay, well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Councillor Keenan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you very much for coming in your presentation. And you know, it's not lost on us that the amount that the taxpayer is paying in this rollout of a new budget, I feel it's very necessary to get caught up. To Mayor Parrish's point, the population, the representation, the way things are funded, out of our control doesn't mean that we don't do it. It's been done this way for the last 50 years, so we'll continue, and hopefully we can look at getting it fixed for sure. Happy to be part of that. I'm hearing a lot about, you know, Mayor Parrish had stated people at the food bank in Mississauga were facing it in Brampton as well. So that's why during our budget process in Brampton, we became very tight on what we were doing. And I do know that my colleague beside me in Mississauga's budget put forward motions to reduce your tax out of Mississauga, which was not approved by Mississauga. I know that additional service got added, I believe, to remove snow from the bottom of your driveway. So maybe those are things that my Mississauga colleagues may want to look at to help with the tax burden of the Mississauga resident. And I do have to ask a question. So my question would be, would you rather call 911 and have an officer show up or have the bottom of your driveway cleaned?
I think that's taking apples to oranges to the nth degree, so I really don't think that deserves a response.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Kovac.
Thank you very much, through you, Mr. Chair. Just over to Councillor Keenan's point. I understand, Councillor Keenan, I heard that you were a great soccer player, but I didn't know you were a cherry picker. And, you know, if I was to share with you, during the budget process, we reached out to 99,938 who were potential participants in a tele-town hall. The first poll question, which city service is most important to you and your family? At 39% snow clearing, including windrow clearing. Over the last several years when I'm out in the community, and a number of councillors can attest to this because we almost voted unanimously for it. I heard time and time again from elderly residents, from residents who are not elderly but have elderly parents. And this was something that we looked at doing because it was badly wanted. But to make a comparison for something that's happening in the city, which we have control over and which we made a decision to do, $15 million, to appeal police budget, that if we approve the 23.3% increase, it will result in $761.8 million. So, like, that's not, I don't think that's a fair comparison. Also, you know, the city of Brampton, your pie chart is 40% from the city, 38% to the region. For Mississauga taxpayers, 47% of what we extract from them goes to the region. So this argument should actually be made, not that it can be made, that we're subsidizing Brampton residents. Not to mention the fact that the Peel Police budget continues to be such an unfair split of 62 to 38. I think you'd get a lot less griping from Mississauga councillors, including myself, if and when the provincial government finally makes that amendment. I know you believe that as well, councillors, so appreciate that.
And so your question for Ms. Shanley is?
No, my name was called, Mr. Chair. So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, fair
right?
enough.
I think it was.
I don't, but you raised that
so
as
I'm
a
gonna turn
point of
this into a
privilege, and
question
I
then.
acknowledge where you're coming from, John. Do you have
Okay.
anything further for the
Got
deputant?
it. Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Parrish.
Well, I just want to correct some comments that Mayor Brown made, if I'm allowed. We had our financial staff go through this very carefully before we landed on 14%. And they say we can reduce hiring by 50%. We will still hire 150 officers at 14%, 5 communicators, and 27 civilian professionals. And the budget start date would have to start March 1st. So you threw a number out there like we were some kind of pikers and putting in 10 or 15 officers. We can still put in 150. This chart's going to go up when my motion comes on the floor and you will see it. And you're purposely misleading the delegation when you say everything's done in public. There are in-camera sessions at every board. We do it here. They do it at the police board. I've sat through them. Decisions are made there, and then they come out into the public session made. So that's misleading, Mayor Brown.
So since I was named Chair Yanika, I have the note from the chair of the board, from the chief of police. I'm sure our CEO or the chair of the region, Anika, can answer this. The increase you proposed factually is 15 officers. It would be a cut of 285 officers. This is the finance staff at Peel Police. So I think it's important we don't put misinformation into the public light. That would be catastrophic for our ability to staff policing in Peel Region. A 285-person cut would be catastrophic.
I'm going to suggest all valid point. We're going to finish with the delegations. Remember, then we're going to deal with the budget,
Yes.
and we're going to deal with motions at that time and questions of clarification. Going to be a fulsome day, and at that point, perhaps the appropriate people can speak, and we can call upon. Poor Sue isn't trying to solve all the world's problems. She's helping her ratepayers, and ably so. So if there are no other questions for Sue at this time, much more to come, and we deliberate the budget. I will have receipt moved by Mayor Parrish, seconded by Councillor Hart. All those in favor? Thank you, Sue. Thank you very much.